Good morning. This is my fourth lesson in solving equations. This will be for my Integrated 1 class as well as my Honors Integrated 1 class. Let's go ahead and go over our goals here today. We have 3 of them and I have them all written on the board, so there's not going to be any fancy editing. Our first goal is we're going to review solving for 5 problem. I wanted to have that problem at the beginning on the first day because not only did it show you how that you could be creative with the rules, it actually gives us the result that we need for today's lesson. And so I wanted you guys to see this before we got into today's lesson. Our next goal is going to be review combining like terms. And our third goal is going to be solving 2-step equations using the above ideas. So what we learned from reviewing the solving for 5 problem and the combining like terms problem, these ingredients are going to help us solve another type of 2-step problem. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and hit our goals for the lesson. All right, so our first goal is to solve for 5. Remember, a lot of us, we have a very Pavlovian instinct, which Pavlov's dog is the study you'll learn about in the future, but it just means that we're taught when we see a variable, we behave in a certain way. It's just a response that's ingrained in our psyche. And so if you see a problem like this, you would probably subtract 5 to both sides, and you would get the value of x to be 3. But that's not what I asked for. I didn't ask to solve for x. That's not what the question was about. The question was about solving for 5. And in order to solve for 5, I have to get the x away from the 5. So what I have to do to both sides is I have to move it. I have to subtract the x to both sides. I have to move it to the other side of the equation. And remember, this was a simple twist on a problem that we solved. And the point was about that getting creative with the rules, but it also is an important step for what we're going to do today. So in fact, the answer for this problem is 5 is equal to, I don't know what 8 minus x is, so I'm going to write it as 8 minus x. And now I have solved for 5. I've got 5 by itself. I've isolated it. I have a value for my 5. Okay? Now, what this problem is meant to show us, not only we can solve for whatever we're asked to solve, but what it's meant to also show us is that I can move a variable to the other side of the equal sign. The example was meant to show you that ahead of time. So the first goal, I'm going to put a check next to that, and I'm going to write down what it showed me. It just showed us that we can move variables to the other side of the equation. And I'm sorry that I'm writing. I can't imagine watching somebody writing is the most exciting thing you'll see. It's got to be actually pretty boring. So here comes some more boring writing. It showed us we could move the variable to the other side. This is boring me. I can't imagine how boring it is on that side of the screen. All right, so I'm going to check off my first goal. And again, the point of the solving for 5 problem was not only to show you that we can be creative with the rules, but it showed us that we can take a variable and we can move it to the other side. And when we do move it to the other side, we are changing its sign. Okay. All right, so let's move on now to goal number 2. I'm going to grab another color marker just so it's easy to follow along. And we're going to review combining like terms. Combining like terms means you put together numbers that have the same elements or the same terms, right? So my second goal is written here. 5 and 2, those are like terms. I can add those together. I can put them together. So I know that 5 and 2 is going to be, I had to think there for a second, it had to be 7. My next problem is 5x plus 2x. These are also like terms. They have the same elements. So I can put my 5x together with my 2x, and I can have 7x. Now, the last problem, these are not like terms. The 5 has the x, the 2 does not. So I don't know how to put together 5x and 2, so I'm just going to leave it as 5x plus 2. I can't put it together, so you can't combine them. So with adding together numbers, that's technically combining like terms, as well as adding together numbers that have the same variable attached to them. So pretty simple second goal. I'm going to put a check off of that. Okay, so combining like terms. And now we get into our third goal. And I, on purpose, wrote two problems that look very, very similar to each other, but you're going to need to use different steps to solve them. Okay, let me find a nice third colored marker. So there is one, remember we're using either the first idea, which shows that we can move the variables to the other side, or we're using the second idea that shows that we can combine like terms. Remember, up to this point, we also realized that division is the last step that we're going to do. So even though, like on this problem, I got a 6x by itself, we don't divide through because we haven't got everybody together. So the thing that you're going to be responsible for is you're going to have to figure out, do you have this idea where you need to get a variable to the other side, or do you have this idea where you can just put them together, right? So looking at these two problems, these variables are on the same side. So that means that this is like the second goal. I can just combine these. These variables are on opposite sides of the equal sign. So I'm going to have to use this goal, or this idea, to move one of the variables to the other side. Now, I'll discuss a little bit more about that in a second, but let's go ahead and see how the second goal of combining like terms ties into this problem. So these are like terms. I can put them together, and I'm left now with 10x is equal to 30. And then I can divide away my 10. And I get my x is equal to 3. Okay. So this problem used our second rule of combining like terms. So this is our combining like terms. Now, another more exciting writing on the board. Combining like terms. And when we start to write our cheat sheet out, we're going to elaborate about combining like terms. It'll say something like step 3, combine like terms on each side of the equal sign. All right, so that way it's a clue for you to know that we are doing something like this. All right, so that's what combining like terms looks like. Now, the second version of this problem, again, notice I have x's on both sides of the equal sign, and on this first goal that we had, we saw that we could actually use the opposite sign to, what was that noise? Oh, I'm getting a call, just ignore that. What timing for my wife? I'm in the middle of this. Okay, so we saw in the second goal that that we can move a variable to the other side. Now, you can move either variable, but you want to be strategic. You want to leave the number by itself, so I'm going to move this 4x to the other side. And now I'm left with 2x is equal to 30. And again, we're going to divide out the number attached to the variable. And here, our x is going to be equal to 15. So this type of problem, you have to recognize that the variables are on both sides. And we have to use our first goal and move the variable to the other side. So this one, we move the variable to the other side. Okay. So again, these are the second type of two-step problems that we can have. It's going to be up to you to recognize, are the variables on the same side? If they are, you can combine them. If they are on opposite sides, you need to move them to the other side. So it's going to be very important that we can visually distinguish the difference here. In our lesson that we have about this, I will formalize our up to now 5 steps. If I can learn to use my fingers, 5 steps to solve any equation, and I'll announce them right now. Step 1 is going to be to eliminate fractions, and we do that by multiplying everybody by the denominator. Step 2 is going to be to combine like terms on each side of the equal sign. Step 3 is going to be to get all variables to one side of the equal sign. Step 4 is going to be to add or subtract away a number from the variable side of the equation. And step 5, as we've seen, is going to be to divide away a number with the variable. And if we follow these 5 steps, we should be able to solve most any linear equation. And again, like I said, we'll formalize that during our class meeting. But this concludes our 4th lesson on solving equations. I hope everybody has a good day. I will see you later. Bye-bye.